listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Simply click the live stream tab or watch us live on your smart TV on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn under WCEG Network. I'm Wardell Richardson, your show host here on WCEGWood Hollywood of the South for the next hour. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Subscribe for free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network. Like, follow, and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, IG, and LinkedIn. Now, of course, we are growing. We have a new platform, ladies and gentlemen. Download our free mobile app on iOS, Apple iPhones, and iPads. Simply go to the Apple Store and search for WCEG Talk Radio. Apple TV, search for WCEG Network TV, and on Apple Watch, search for WCEG Network. On Android mobile phones and tablets, go to Google Play Store and search for WCEG Talk Radio. This is a great thing to have. You can watch all the shows. You can tune in to WCEG right there on the app, right at your convenience. It is awesome. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guests and not those of WCEG Network. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I am Wardell Richardson, host of WCEGWood Hollywood of the South, CEO of Rain Dance Films. And of course, we got a lot of things going on with my film company this year. A lot of projects going to be coming on Rise. So all you actors, producers, anybody who want to be a part of what we're doing, make sure you email me at raindancefilms.com. We got a lot of things that's going to be cooking, so you don't want to miss out on that. This past week, I went to a movie premiere. I'm getting tired of my words here. But this past week, I went to a movie premiere of Keeping Secrets. So shout out to Omega Keys and Kathy Taylor. The premiere was amazing. I am in the film Keeping Secrets. That's a role that I took, and I got to play my Nigerian accent. You know, I've been waiting to do that for a long time. So make sure you go and check out that movie. It is on Tubi right now. It's called Keeping Secrets. Check it out. It's a great film to watch. Do not watch it with kids. It is definitely based on, it's a strip club type of movie, but it's a great film. Really, how should I say? It's a drama, but it's very crafty. That's all I can say. That's the best word I can say for it. You don't want to watch it with children. Do not want to watch that with children. Lastly, make sure you go and check me out on and see all the other movies that I'm in on Amazon Prime. You can check out Addition by Subtraction, Flesh, The 30-Day Rule. I've been getting a lot of people calling me saying that they've been watching The 30-Day Rule still to this day. It is a romantic comedy. People love that movie. I've actually gotten an award for that movie. So make sure you go and watch The 30-Day Rule. It's one of my favorite films that I have done. Flesh is based off human trafficking. Make sure you check that out. Addiction by Subtraction is a psychological film. You definitely need to watch that from the beginning. It's talking about your id, your super ego, all that kind of stuff. I had to do research before I even did the film because I had no idea about any of that. So it was a very difficult project to do, but I loved it. On Tubi also, there's a movie called Rabbitous. Make sure you check that out. The Tree Widow on Amazon Prime. And last but not least, A Killing Secret is on Amazon Prime. It's my first directorial debut. It has won awards all through LA. So make sure you go and check that movie out. I appreciate you guys for your support. And once again, if you're watching this right now, make sure you share this feed with your family and your friends. Make sure you connect with what we got going on, and make sure you listen in, because I have a great person on the show today. Now, this guy did some work with him many years ago, and I brought it up to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember," because it was such a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But I remember working with him. He was a great guy, one of the hottest poets around. I know you ladies have been waiting to hear this man's interview, because when I put the news out there, everybody was hitting me up. "Oh, I know him. That's going to be a great interview, da 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 da." So without further ado, I have here on the show Poet Laureate. He is an author, activist, philanthropist, humanitarian, motivational speaker, Mr. Hank Stewart. How are you?
Wow, Wardell, I'm about to travel with you, man. I'm gonna have to travel with you. That's a great introduction, man. Thank you. And before we say anything, congratulations on all of your success too. So I can't wait. I wrote a couple of films down, so I'm gonna go back and look at them in my leisure as well, man. So congratulations.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. I work really hard, man. And I have heard that you have been dipping into the film arena yourself.
Not really. I mean, just, I've showed up a couple of times. Not nothing real. Nothing real.
Okay. But, so that's not that's not something you're really trying to get into, or you just get into it if people ask you to come into it.
And if there's a fit, if there's a good fit, then I'll do it. That's not my area, but I'm not opposed to stretching. You know what I mean? I'm not opposed to stretching and stepping outside the box, but on the stage is very comfortable for me. Civil rights is very comfortable for me. Just human rights and spirituality and all that's very, very comfortable for me. So I have a tendency to stay within my box, but I'm not opposed to stretching.
Okay. Well, since we on that level, let's go back a little bit. Give us a little bit about where you grew up, how you got to where you are. Because you've been an author, you're a poet, you've been doing these things for many, many years. Mm-hmm. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I'm from Florida, Jacksonville, Florida originally. I've been in Atlanta for almost 40 years now. I never forget when I moved to Atlanta, my younger brother was here going to DeVry, and my older brother and we brought him here with my mom. And I remember riding the car, and we rode down. Well, we dropped my brother off at school with my mom to do all the paperwork. My oldest brother and I got in the car. We rode down P Street. I had never in my life seen so many beautiful Black women in one place. I said, "I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back." And I was going to a junior college at home, and I said, "I'm coming back here." So I was working, bro. Wardell, I tell you, I saved every dime I have. I gave myself a year and a half. I had just bought a Volkswagen Bug. I thought I was, I was a man then. Everybody had a little Volkswagen. I thought I was a man.
Yeah, right.
So I paid my Volkswagen off. I started saving money, and I was getting back here, and I was going to school here, and I came back and went to those small colleges by the name of Massey Business College. Got a computer science degree. Started working at UPS. So I got here because my brother was here, and we came here. And like I said, man, it is no place like Atlanta, man. Atlanta is just the absolute best,
Man, I was born and raised here, man. And so many times people ask me, do I plan to move or go somewhere? I'm like, I just can't do it. I cannot leave Atlanta.
No place like Atlanta. No place. I've traveled the country and even some parts of the world. And, and as much as I enjoy Aruba and St. Croix and all these different places, Oakland, California, New York, LA, all of them, I still like coming home. And this is home for me because I've been here now longer than I was in Jacksonville. I left Jacksonville at 19 years of age. And so I always say I'm from Jacksonville, but I grew up in Atlanta. So.
Yeah, man, I love it here. Now, eventually, what got you and catapulted you into doing poetry and becoming an author?
So now that's a whole different beast. I was a manager at UPS, man, back in 1991, November the 7th, 1991. I never forget that day as long as I live. It was one of the most pivotal days in my life. And I never forget, I came home from work that morning. I was working third shift. I pedaled around the house. I washed some clothes, folded some clothes, did some dishes and all that. Took a shower, went to sleep. I got up, Wardell, probably around 5 o'clock. There was no 5 o'clock news. I turned on the news about 6. I was starting to get ready to go back to work. And Wardell, the news was the news. It was murder, carjacking, inflation. We were in the Gulf War at the time. It was horrible. The weather came on. It was just like today. It was raining. It was just dreary. I mean, floods and tornadoes in the Midwest. It was horrible. And I'm a sports junkie. Now, I love football, basketball, baseball, hockey, race car driving, soccer, tennis, golf. I love them all because I love the strategy of sports. That was the day that Magic Johnson declared he was HIV positive. I had never in my life seen the news so bad, bro. And I started doodling on a sheet of paper. And the very first poem that God ever blessed me with was a real simple piece, but it changed my life. And the poem was called "Can You Hear Me?" And it says, "Lord, there's times when nothing is going right. Lord, there's times I can't find anything good to talk about. Lord, there's times when I cry. I wonder, do you hear me? Lord, there's times I've fallen. And I wonder, did you see me? Can you hear me, Lord? Can you hear me? Wow. Can you hear me? Just give me a sign. And very softly, he spoke to my heart. He told me about Calvary, and this is what he said. He said, Hank, do you know they slapped me across my face because I heard your cry? They pierced my side because I heard your cry. They spit on me because I heard your cry, and I died on a Friday because I heard your cry, but I rose on a Sunday because I heard your cry. Not my child, you have it all, simply because I heard your cry. First thing that I ever wrote. And so I started writing every day.
Oh, wow. And so, and literally that's the first thing you wrote. And you remember that to this day.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Oh, man, I remember it like it was yesterday. And most of my, I can't even say most, a large portion of my poems I remember. I spend so much time, trying to commit my work to memory, because a lot of people can read it. But if you can feel it, if I can look at you and engage you and incorporate you in the piece, like I just did with you, then you stay attentive, And so, I mean, it's been a, man, let me tell you something. Miles Monroe once said, the greatest tragedy in life is not death, but the greatest tragedy in life is to be given life and not know why you're living. Mark Twain said, the two greatest days of your life, check this out, bro. The two greatest days of your life is the day that you were born and the day that you realize why you were born. Now, I personally believe there were three great days: the day that you were born, the day that you were born again, and the day that you realize why you were born again. And so once you start to connect that stuff, man, it makes life amazing. Steve Harvey, the great philosopher, said, your career is what you call for, but your career is what you're paid for, but your calling is what you're made for, right? So when you understand what you're made for, it changes everything. So now I have two more really important days that I celebrate. September the 4th is my birthday. November the 7th is my purpose day.
September the 7th is your purpose day.
September the 4th is my birthday. November the 7th is
November the 7th.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when it all started.
Okay. And Purpose Day. What gave you the idea for Purpose Day? And what does that mean?
I discovered my purpose that day.
That's when you discovered your purpose.
That's the last day I used an alarm clock to get up in the morning. Now my purpose wakes me up every single morning. So I'm 5 books later, 6 CDs, 2 novels, a coffee table book. 2 of my books with Kendra Norman Bellamy when we were on Essence bestsellers list. I got a new book coming out this week. I've had the luxury of performing for Michelle Obama, Rosa Parks, the first poet to ever grace the main stage of the Essence Festival. Won an Emmy, Pro Max, a Gabby Award, Trumpet Awards. If you Google Hank Stewart, you'll see Boris Cujo introducing myself and James Ingram. We tagged on a piece. If you go out and you'll see Will Downing called and he asked to recite one of my poems on his latest CD. I've been really, 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 really fortunate. McDonald's commercials, Fox 5 commercials. So I've been blessed, man. God has truly blessed me.
Now you mentioned 2 incredible people. Now everybody you mentioned is incredible, but one of my favorite people is Michelle Obama. How did that come about? So
I was contacted by a good friend of mine. His name is Eric Hubbard. He works for Congressman Hank Johnson.
Okay.
Congressman Hank Johnson's wife is Marita Johnson, and at the time she was not a commissioner. Now she's a commissioner, but she was on the First Lady's committee, and every year they put on the First Lady's luncheon. The luncheon is an alternate. The Democrats put it on one year, the Republicans put it on one year. The Democrats and Republicans, and so they had Jill Scott and some other folk. One Democrat that hosted, and then the Republican hosted. So Eric called me and said, Miss Johnson wants you to recite a poem at the First Lady's luncheon. Now, Wardell, I'm gonna tell you something, and this is a message for all young people too. I want them to, they need to hear this. So I was excited. They said, we're gonna pay you for this. Wardell, I would have did that one for free. Trust me, I would have did that one for free.
I bet you would have. I would have too.
They said we're gonna fly you to. They said we're gonna fly you to DC. I would have paid for my own flight. I would have driven myself to DC, right? I got off the plane. They had a car waiting for me. Trust me, I would have took a cab over there because they wasn't Uber at the time. I would have took a cab. It was 2014. I would have took a cab over. Got to the hotel, and they had my room and everything. I would have slept on a park bench to do that one. It was May 1st. I'll never forget this as long as I live. Got to the venue. We sound checked and all this other stuff. Came back next day. And I performed. It was amazing. Got a chance to meet Michelle Obama, the First Lady. in a private reception, and she was freaking phenomenal. I mean, she gave everybody who was in that room, and there wasn't a lot of people in the room. The Secret Service was, there, all the dogs and all this stuff. And what still amazes me to this very day, how if she was talking to you, she was talking to you. She didn't get beyond you to get to somebody else. She talked directly to you. And so we didn't have a long conversation, but it was just an impactful conversation. But I tell you all of that about driving there, flying and driving, I would have driven and all that, because I also spoke in youth detention centers around the state of Georgia. And I always tell the young people, I said, look, when they called me about that opportunity to speak for Michelle Obama, they vetted me. Wardell, they vetted me. That's a background check. You know how far they went back? They went all the way back to I was in middle school. I had no idea in middle school what I would have the opportunity to do as a grown man. And so I'm trying to encourage our young people, don't mess your life up. You don't know what tomorrow holds, right?
Absolutely.
Be the best you can be right now, because there are people who would not have gotten that opportunity because their background check wouldn't have passed for them to perform for the first lady at the time. So I always tell young people, don't mess your life up. You don't know how good it's going to be down the road. You don't know the potential jobs. You don't know the potential opportunities. And when they start in the great jobs and opportunities, they start doing background checks on them.
Man, that's amazing. And the fact that they went all the way back to middle school. Like, and back then we do all kind of knuckleheaded stuff. I'll get in trouble, do all kind of crazy things.
Exactly right.
And that would have ended your opportunity if something was on your record.
It would have wiped out an opportunity to perform for the very first African-American first lady of this. And you know how historic that is? I mean, we can have another one, but it's the second one now. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's but to perform for the very first African-American first lady. And not only that, let me tell you who all was in the room, Wardell. It was congresswomen and congresswomen's wives. And it was senators and wives, and it was the Supreme Court justice wives in the room. It was loaded. All these powerful. It was 1,200 women in the room, 1,200 people in that room, and so it was phenomenal. I can remember that happened May the 1st, 2014. I remember like it was yesterday. It's almost 10 years, and I can still remember like everything unfolded yesterday.
Wow. And then you performed for Rosa Parks. Now, I can only imagine the poem that you did for her.
It was a piece that called I Couldn't Just Sit There. It was a piece that was called I Couldn't Just Sit There. And what you're going to hear me say a lot through this interview, I always give credit to people who did it, because I'm telling you, Wardell, I didn't have to solicit for any event that I've ever done. People have always come to me and asked me to do something. There's a guy by the name of Danny Bugs who used to play ball for the Washington Redskins. Danny and I were very good friends. Danny, like a mentor, and he retired, but he got into the community, just doing amazing work in the community. So he was hosting Miss Rosa Parks on a tour. She was going to different cities. And he came to me, he said, look, bro, can you do a poem for Miss Rosa Parks? Yeah, I can. But that was back in 1991. 1993, 94, I had just started writing around that time, right? Okay. But so I had to create something, but I wasn't going to miss that opportunity to have an opportunity to perform for the mother of the civil rights movement,
right?
And she was starting to decline at that time, and I can still hear right now her faint voice saying, "I like your poem," So I got pictures of, but she was amazing. She was amazing too, I had a chance to perform at Yolanda King's memorial. And that was huge. I'm sitting there thinking, man, I had a chance to perform for Yolanda King's 50th birthday celebration. And I'm telling you how powerful that was. It was a 50th birthday celebration, but it was the first time Miss King had come out from being sick. So it was a nice little small gathering. So I performed for that. A year later, Miss King dies, and then a year after that, Yolanda passes. So so she died at 51. So but so at this event, at this memorial, I'm sitting there, and they said, well, I'm going to recite and all of this. And they sat right next to me, Cicely Tyson.
Oh, and wow.
Look, Cicely Tyson was, I got pictures, I'll send them to you. Cicely Tyson sitting right next to me. And I said nothing to her before I recited. I said absolutely nothing, right? And Wardell, one of the highlights was when I got up and I recited, got a stand ovation, I came back, and Miss Tyson said, I love that poem. Can I have a copy of it? And normally, Wardell, I don't bring copies. Normally, I recite off the dome, right? but I had a copy because I knew I was going to be so nervous. I thought, you know, Maya Angelou was on program and all this. So I had a copy just, you know, as a safety net.
Right.
So when I got back to my seat, she said, she said, I would love a copy on it. And I made the worst mistake. I gave her my copy. I said, it's got errors in here, but I gave her the copy. But what I wish she would have done, I would have done and said, I would love to see you one. Give me your phone number, your address, so I can send it to you so I can maintain a relationship. So after it was over, right? So I didn't get a chance to communicate with her anymore. But sitting right next to, you know, to Cicely Tyson, man, was another phenomenal opportunity.
Man, you had so many great things happen. What has been like one of your biggest challenges in this career you have?
I haven't had any real challenges. I'm gonna be honest with you, and that's why I know it's God. That's the reason why, Wardell, I know it's God. I have not had challenges. Like I just said to you earlier, the majority of the events things that I've done, I performed with, you know, for Dr. Joseph Eccles Lowry. You know, I'm doing a program right now with Ms. Anona Clayton. We're getting ready to unleash a statue on the 8th. I wish everybody who's listening would come out on the 8th of March. It's International Women's History Month. So we've got a statue that's going to be erected in her honor. I had an opportunity to perform for Dr. C.T. Vivian. Congressman John Lewis did an excerpt from my book. But all of that, and I got to say this name because this name is very important. This name is very, very important. And I always try to mention his name every single time I talk about anything that I've done. When I started writing, I went to my pastor at church, Pastor Reverend Cameron Madison Alexander. A great guy. I mean, just a phenomenal guy. And so he said to me, he said, okay, you're writing. He said, be ready. I'm gonna call you one day. And he called me up. And my first audience was an audience about 2,000 people at church, maybe more than that, about 3,000 or 4,000 people at church.
Oh,
but
wow.
Not only, let me tell you how powerful that was, Wardell. Not only was it at church, but it was all the people who were sitting in church. It was the bank president here. It was a professor over at Spelman or Morehouse. It was a producer in the room who produced for Fox 5. So the more poetry I started doing, the more invites I started to get from just sitting in the church. Black History Month, Women's History Program, and all. Right. So, you know, I can't tell you a challenge that I've had. I really can't. I know that sounds kind of cocky and kind of arrogant, but no, God He paved the way for every single thing that I did, and I've done up until this very moment, bro.
So what is the process that you go through in putting poems together? Because you got, I'm sure, thousands of poems by now.
Not thousands, but hundreds. I got hundreds. And I do have hundreds, and I'm probably about to approach 1,000, but that's been 30 years, right? And one of the things that I really focused on, Wardell, was just really writing quality, not quantity, but quality. So any piece that I give you, you know, it's strong. It's a strong piece. It doesn't matter how tall I am. What you need to know is that I stand for the right things. Now, I don't have a lot to say, but when I speak, you need to listen because I'm sure it will make a difference. Now, don't worry about how much money I have in my pockets. You see, it's my contribution to this world. That's what puts me in the category as a millionaire. And I'm not trying to be arrogant, Wardell. No, I'm not trying to be arrogant, brother. But you see, even when I'm in an empty room with my pride, the room is still full to capacity. You see, I'm a voice in this country. And yes, I deserve to be heard. I'm a black man. And do you know that I helped build this country? And for a while, the only place that allowed me to sit was in the rear of a room on the back of a bus. I'm a black man. And every time you stop at a traffic light, you know what? You should think about me. Well, yes, my skin is dark. It is as dark as the berries that run wild in the fields now that my great-grandparents once picked cotton. My hands are rough. But didn't I tell you earlier that I built this country? I'm a black man, and I'm angry. I'm so angry that I'm going out to do something good. No, I'm not afraid. I fear absolutely no one but the Creator, so get out of my way. Yes, get out of my way if you're not going forward. You say, I ain't got time to be tired. My daughter needs a father, my son needs a role model, and my wife needs a man. Didn't I tell you to get out of my way if you're not going forward? There's so many brothers need my help because maybe they're hooked on drugs, and there's homeless people that needs to be shown just a little bit of love. You better get out of my way if you're not going forward so that I can make the difference. You see, I'm a man. I'm the man, and thank God that I'm a black man. So the pieces that I write now, Wardell, I'm writing for quality, not quantity.
Wow. And what entices you? do you go through a certain process when you get ready to write a poem? Like, how does your ideas come to you?
The best pieces that I've ever written are the pieces that I've been inspired to write. I wrote a piece that's called I Accept. And people can go out on YouTube and they can just put Hank Stewart, I Accept. This piece is getting a lot of traction. But I wrote it the day that Congressman John Lewis and Dr. C.T. Vivian transitioned. They died on the same day. And I had seen Ms. Rita Samuels. I saw Dr. Joseph Echo Lyra, who died the year before, right in the middle of COVID, not have a real, funeral, not have a real service and this man had lived almost 99 years and had done phenomenal. And then COVID comes and he loses his life, not to COVID, but during COVID. And we didn't even get an opportunity to bury him. Reverend Cameron Madison Alexander, James Orange, Cleo Orange. I started seeing people transitioning. And so for me, inspiration is always the best way to write. If I'm inspired, now I've written pieces. Coca-Cola asked me to write a piece for the Essence Festival. So that's the piece that went through this. So I was commissioned to write that piece. I'm commissioned to write another piece for the High Museum that I'm working on right now. So I can write pieces that I'm in, that I'm commissioned to, but my best pieces to me are the ones that I'm inspired to write. So I'll sit down, man. I mean, there have been times where I'm sitting at on somebody's program and somebody say one word. They could say one word and it'll take me in a whole different direction. And so I have to sit there and start writing right then, so I don't lose that feeling, that thought process. And so I'll sit there and start writing something just to get me back. So when I get home and get in front of my computer, that I can finish it up.
Oh, wow. So you literally have a gift. I think you brought Steve Harvey up before. One of the things he said that I heard him talk about, he said, forget your passion. What is your gift? What is it, that ordained thing that God has blessed you with? That is your gift. Tap into that and let that thrive. And you have tapped into your gift. Like when you have a gift, that's just what it is. And you are able to, talk about just about anything based off of a feeling that you get. Yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing.
And I, one of the things that I'm real big on, I love paying homage to Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez. I had an opportunity to tour with Delta Sigma Theta back in 2008, 19, I think it was 18 or 19. And they did this thing called Pride in Our Heritage. So I had an opportunity to fly around the corner with Gwendolyn Mason and Dr. Janetta B. Cole and their team. And they would, every region they went to, Dr. Janetta Cole, who used to be the former President of Spelman and Bennett. She would host a conversation for one of their illustrious sorors. So it was in Kansas City. I opened and closed the discussion between Dr. Janetta Cole and Susan Taylor. When Chicago, I opened and closed the discussion between Dr. Cole and Jackie Reed. Went to LA, you're gonna like this one. I opened and closed the discussion between Dr. Cole and Mara Brock Akil. It went when it came to North Carolina, I opened and closed the discussion like this one with Rudy, Keisha Knight Pulliam in North Carolina. Then they went to Philadelphia, and I opened and closed the discussion between Dr. Cole and Nikki Giovanni. So that was right, man. It came back to Atlanta. It was Susan Taylor again, and then it went to New Orleans. It was Paula Gettings, who was phenomenal. She was a historian, so I was like a kid in the candy store just listening to her. So I said all that to say that for me, when I'm sitting down and I'm writing for quality, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm writing stuff. Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, Langston Hughes, Paul Lawrence Dunbar, they wrote things. They were a part of the movement. Their work had substance, right? And so you cannot be. You read in my introduction that I'm an activist. I don't know how you can be a poet and not be an activist. I don't know how you can do that. I think it's a part of your training. It's a part of your the platform that you're given. That's why I'm a huge fan right now of Colin Kaepernick and LeBron James, because they've used their Colin Kaepernick to me and LeBron James are the modern day, and this is my opinion, this is not your opinion, Wardell, so I don't want nobody to get mad at you. But it's my opinion that Colin Kaepernick and LeBron James are modern day Muhammad Ali's, because they use their platform just like Ali did, Muhammad Ali, when he stood up against the Vietnam War and talked and spoke truth to power. It's the same thing that Colin Kaepernick did. It's the same thing LeBron is doing on a daily basis on top of playing basketball and getting ready to become the all-time leading scorer. He's used this platform to speak out against the social injustices, talking about, Jerry Jones being in the crowd when in Little Rock, when they torched out, our ancestors, and he was a part of the crowd in that. And so Dr. Lowry said something, Wardell, that motivates me, that inspires me. A friend of mine, Janice Mathis, asked him one time, she said, what is a true quality or characteristic of a leader? And let me tell you what the quality he said, and this is what I'm praying for. He said, courage. You got to have courage. You got to be able to speak truth to power, and you got to be able to do it even if you're the only person in the room that's for right. You got to be able to do it. I saw Dr. Lowry. If you go and Google Dr. Joseph Eckert Lowry at Coretta Scott King's funeral, he called out weapons of mass destruction. Not only did he call it out, Wardell, he called it out when President Bush, his daddy Bush, Carter, Clinton, all of them were on the stage. That took courage. Think about that. Yeah. You're calling out a sitting president, calling it weapons of mass distractions and destruction. There's no weapon, and you do that when he's sitting behind you.
Yep.
That's
really strong. That's a lot of courage.
And he got a lot of death threats off of that. But it was courage, and it had to be done. And I'm gonna tell you why he said he did it. Now, this is the luxury I had by being one of his mentees and sitting and talking. You know why he said he did it?
Why?
You can't miss the opportunity. He says Dr. King did the same thing when he he did the eulogy for he did the eulogy for the 4 young girls who were bombed in Birmingham. And Dr. King took that opportunity, Wardell, to call out America for the Vietnam War.
Courage. Absolutely. Now, you also got into writing a book. What thought process went behind putting the book together? Because your poems are unique in its own. Because you also worked with somebody to put the book together. So explain that process, because your books are incredible.
So Kendra Norma Bellamy, who's probably one of the most underrated authors, Google her too. She's phenomenal, got probably about 20-something titles. And I approached Kendra and said, look, I got this poem called 3:57 a.m. And I said, I would love to turn 3:57 a.m. into a novel. It was a poem. I wanted to turn it into a novel. And she said, oh, that's great. So she and I, we fleshed out what I wanted to look like. And she would write a little bit, I would write a little bit, she would write a little bit, she would scratch mine out, and say, let's try this. Cause she was that was right up her alley. But we co-authored it. But she put her stamp all over it. She was phenomenal. And we were able to take what was in my head and put it down on paper. And it's probably more like a soul food novel. The book was picked up. It did very well on an independent piece, so it's picked up by Urban Christian Books out of New York. And then they paid us to do a sequel, and the sequel is The Morning After. So we did 2 books, The Morning After and 3:57 a.m.
Nice. And man, I'll tell you, man, you are just doing amazing work. Because I personally never knew. I've seen you do your poetry before. I actually was at an event and I saw you do it. It was wild. I can't even remember where it was, but I know it was at an event and I saw you do it. And I said, man, I wonder if you remember me. But man, you had so many people coming at you after me. I couldn't even get to you. I said, oh, well, I'll catch them another time. Wow. But I'm just very excited and happy for everything that you have done. I definitely want to buy, you say you got tapes too. I want to buy your tape or your DVDs and listen to those as well. Now, you got an Emmy. Yeah. Okay, so to me, that's the creme de la creme. So what happened? Where was you and how was that delivered to you that you were getting an Emmy? So we did some commercials. Remember I told you the young lady at church, sitting in the pews was a young lady who was a producer for Fox 5. Right. And she
had heard me over the years at church, and she said, I have an idea. She says, I have an idea. She says, I want you to write some commercials, some vignettes.
Okay.
And I'm going to produce them. And, and they're going to air during Black History Month. So it's this time of the year. It was, back in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote the pieces, we tweaked them, and she recorded them. We recorded 5. Now, this is hard now, because this in filming. We recorded 5 PSAs in one day. And it had 5 different angles: gorilla, close up, extreme close up. It had all the different angles, and you had to hit that poem in all of them different angles.
Right.
And we had to do it in a certain amount of time because it was done in the studio, right? So Fox had to do the morning news, and then before the evening news came, so we had 5, and we got them all done. And when I tell you, when I got there, I was sitting in the car. I was like, I need a drink, and I don't even drink. I was like, oh,
I know you was
exhausted. I was exhausted. People think, filming is easy. That's why I think that's probably why I don't, it's hard for one scene, right? For one scene, right? So we did 5. And so the station entered them into the Emmy. And so we won an Emmy, a Pro-Max, and a Gabby Award.
Right.
So my Emmy's downstairs. I wish I'd have said it because I'd have showed you the Emmy. My Emmy's downstairs in my studio. And so I got a call because I didn't go, because I didn't think, I was like, you hear all the time, you nominated. So it was a Southern Region Emmy, and I didn't go. And I got a call. We won. And not only did we win, we won a Pro-Max. We had never won a Pro-Max, and we won a Gabby, and that was something that eluded us as well too. So we won all 3. So the producer, she did a phenomenal job, and it was cutting edge at that time. Wow. And so we won So to be a poet, my credentials have been pretty high. I mean, we lost an amazing woman today. Her name is Bunny Jackson Ramsey, and I got to say her name. Bunny was a PR person. She was phenomenal. Well, Bunny was my PR person.
Okay.
And tell what she did for me. So in your introduction, you called me a poet laureate.
Right.
Bunny, back in 2016, when I was just celebrating my 25th year as a poet, and she was doing all the PR and putting all this stuff together, she says, she said, I've been doing some research, Hank, and you need to be a poet laureate. She said, I've been doing some research, and we got to get somebody who's in a political position to make you the poet laureate of their congressional district or their district. And she started doing all the research. She made a couple of calls, and Congressman Hank Johnson made me the poet laureate of his congressional district. It's written in Congress. Then it's written in Congress. I have the plaque right down here. Lee May was the acting CEO of DeKalb County. He made me the poet laureate of the DeKalb County. Some others did it in Fulton and all that. So she was one. And so I she really pushed my career. And I had worked with her because she was this phenomenal PR person, and she worked to help the civil rights movement. A lot of the movement people like Jesse Jackson moved the agenda along. She knew how to craft the story. She did the PSAs and she did a lot of the press releases and things of that nature. And so Bunny Jackson Ramsey, she passed this morning, and I will forever be indebted to her, because the things that you talked about, the Emmy, best-selling author, poet laureate, those are the things that separates me from the poets who had an open mic. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying anything wrong, because a lot of them are better than I am, but they didn't get the opportunity. It's like basketball players. There was a lot of basketball players that was better than Jordan. They just never made it to the game, to the league. A lot of great running backs.
Yeah, and I believe one of the instrumental parts of your success is the people you put around you. How important is that? Because I talk about this a lot to people. You have to put yourself around people who want the best for you, and not people who holding you down and holding you back. How important is it for you to surround yourself with people who want to see you successful?
First of all, it's God. God put me around the people that He wants me to be around. Because I promise you, again, it goes back, Wardell. And I'm not trying to sound like this religious fanatic, But I understand. I'm almost 60 years old, right? I'll be 60 this year. So when you start understanding where you are and that you got more days behind you instead of in front of you, and you start seeing how God's hand, maneuver, there were rooms that I had an opportunity to be in that I should not have had an opportunity to be in, right? God put me in that room. Somebody said, hey, come and go with me to this meeting. And then the meeting might have been Maxine Waters and all these other folk. And somebody said, well, let's get a poem from Hank before we start. You understand my point? You understand?
Yeah.
So there was no reason I was not invited to the meeting, you know what I mean? But somebody brought me to the meeting and then they heard me. And then all of a sudden now you're hearing Jesse say something and da-da-da. He's like, we need to get you to do this, da-da-da. So it was always God. It was always God, Wardell. I refuse to take any credit. I refuse to take any credit. And my pastor used to say, now, to your point, my pastor used to say, if a drunk hang out with a drunk, neither one of them ever be sober. If you're hanging out with people who are not going nowhere, it's not going to be long before you're going to have your brakes on. So I'm strategic about not hanging out with folk who ain't doing nothing. My mentors, the people who have mentored me, Tommy Dort, right now, one of my awesome mentors, I get a chance. They always talking about movement. They're talking about making things happen. They ain't talking about, most of the time they ain't talking about sports. They ain't talking about none of that. They're talking about buying businesses, moving the community forward and things of that nature. So if you're around people like that, your thought process. And I tell young people this, and this is probably gonna wrap it up for you. This will put the bow on that question. There's a place in Europe called the Billionaire Row. Billionaire Row. Billionaire Row is a place that only built a community that the only billionaires can live in. Billionaires don't even want to hang out with millionaires. They want to have their own community. You understand? So who you hang out with matters. And I used to tell my son this all the time. I said, if you hang out with 5 broke people, you're gonna probably be the 6th one, right? If you hang out with 5 people who got college degrees, you're gonna probably either be the next person with a college degree or you're gonna quit. You know what I mean? Quit hanging out with them. Because you can't be around success and not have a taste for it, not desire it, right? So who I hang out with, man, I'm real strategic about who I hang out with. Real strategic.
I agree with you. I'm the same way. That is very important to me, that I have positive people behind me all the time. I don't deal with anybody with any negative energy who talking negative at all, and I think because of that, that's the reason I've been successful in my film career, how I even got this radio show, just like you, it was God. He put me in the right places at the right time. And that opened the doors for other things, that opened the doors for other things, that opened the doors for other things.
Exactly right.
So I get exactly what you're talking about. Now, you also have a foundation, a lot, which means, let me say,
a leader of tomorrow. Yeah.
Explain a little bit about what you're talking about.
So Gwen and I, back in 2006, we started to see a lot of our civil rights leaders and human rights leaders steps getting slower, or some were even transitioning. And we said, who's going to take the mantle? Who's going to take the baton, right? And I knew there were people who were doing some of that, but we thought there needed to be more people doing it. So we decided that we would develop youth leaders. And Gwen is brilliant. I mean, just a great writer, great, she's very strategic. Our program is very solid. We got a very solid program. And I give credit to Gwen because she wrote the curriculum and the quarters and the modules for all the stuff that we did. So we're broken into a 4-quarter thrust right now. Our first quarter is August, September, and October, and that's our financial and health and wellness quarter for our kids. Our kids are between the ages of 8 and 18. And so we make sure they understand how to be healthy and we understand about money. Because good leaders are healthy and they're financially astute. Right? The next quarter is November, December, January. That's our community service quarter. We feed the homeless in November. We work with a group called Gilgal, which is women who are recovering from substance abuse. We helped them to get back on their feet. We for the last 13 years, we didn't do it this year. We moved and did another project. I'll tell you about both of those. But one, Gilgal, with women who are recovering from substance abuse and being homeless, and we would bring. It would be anywhere between 25 to 30 women. We would give them everything they needed to get back into the work environment: clothing, shoes, complete purses, everything they need to get back in. We would buy them everything they wanted for Christmas, fulfill their Christmas wish. We fulfilled the agency's Christmas wish. We would go and clean up the property. We'd have about 100 volunteers out there cleaning up the property and making sure that they came into an environment that was, safe and had curb appeal. And then this year we partnered with a group called The Safe Place, and it's for adults with autism. So we went over and did the same thing for that organization. And in January, our kids would sit down and interview senior citizens, right? So we would take them to a nursing home. And because there's a quote that says, when an elder dies, the library just burned down. When an elder dies, the library just burned down. So we spend quality time making sure that our children are getting that transferable knowledge. And they're asking questions and trying to help them to make better decisions. What did you do? What would you tell your younger self? What would you do in a situation like that? So they have an opportunity to talk to somebody and work their way through it. The third quarter we're in right now, February, is Black History. We do a Black History program. This year is going to be at the Apex Museum, really nice museum, and we're featuring Sue Ross. Sue Ross is a photo griot, and she's got some of the most amazing photos, and she's going to be able to walk through those historical pieces and talk about not only the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia, but around the country and around the world. Sue Ross has a photo, Wardell, that is probably one of my favorites. She's taking a picture. She's in the picture with Betty Shabazz, Marilee Evers, and Coretta Scott King. All three of their husbands were slain: Medgar, Martin, and Malcolm. And she's in the picture with the three wives, right? She caught a picture on the tarmac when Nelson Mandela was freed, and his first time in America was when he came to Atlanta. She got the picture of him coming off the tarmac, and Bishop Desmond Tutu. So she's got so much historical stuff that we want to pass on to our children. Next month in March is our Women's History program. March is Women's History Month, and we do a program that focuses on, women, particularly Black women, because Black women are freaking amazing. I don't care what nobody say. You can get mad at me all day long. You can get mad at me all day long. I don't give a damn who hears it. Black women save this country. You look at the voting bloc. You look at how they maneuver. I mean, they keep us on the right path. They push us, they pull us, they prop us up. They just do everything we need to do. We need to do to be better men. So we do a Women's History program. As a matter of fact, I told you earlier, we're celebrating Ms. Alona Clayton with a new statue. So that's going to be on International Women's History Day. So I'll make sure that you all get the link and you can invite people there.
Yeah.
And in April is our career day. We do a career day where we go in and we bring in speakers for career day. We averaged, before COVID, about 200 speakers that would come in and go in the classrooms and speak with the kids. I sit on Workforce Development Board in DeKalb. And so one of the things that we do there is to make sure the children have jobs and their parents have jobs. So we've been real fortunate to do that. May, June, and July is our social quarter. We do an anti-bullying program in May, networking in June, and then an etiquette class. Etiquette is really, really important because not only is it table etiquette, but it's social media. Our kids they need to know what you put on social media is a digital footprint. It's going to be there. You can delete it if you want. Think you delete it, but the right people can go and pull it out the trash can, find ways.
Yes, they can.
Right. Yeah. So we teach our kids about, etiquette, phone etiquette, table etiquette, just all of that. And so I sit on several boards. One is Workforce Development. I sit on the board now for Tommy George has me on this board that I absolutely love, the Black College Hall of Fame. Another board that's out of DC is the National Juvenile Defender Center, which is now the adult center. It's to make sure that every child that goes before the juvenile court system has fair and competent representation. So I sit on that board, and then my board and a couple other boards. So it's just staying busy, man. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Man, you are amazing. I'm sitting here listening to everything you say. I'm just like, oh my God. Like you have literally, man, I have to say thank you for just being the man that you are, because I hear a lot of people complain, and talk about, and it's true, as Black people, we have to work harder. We have to do more. But you've shown with hard work, dedication, it's possible. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and you can't be around a Dr. Lowry, Cameron Madison, Rita Samuels, You know, you can't be around a James Owens or a Cleo Owens. You can't be around a Willie Bolden or, you know, any of these strong, so Fred Taylor. You know, it's so many amazing, you know, people that I was around. And what I don't want, Wardell, is because I'm mute, I'm quiet, I'm silent, I'm not doing anything, that they invested in the wrong person. Right.
Right.
Don't want them, I don't want them to look down from heaven and say, well, we messed that one up. We should have looked at Johnny over here, because Hank is not doing anything with the time we spent with CT Vivian, you know, Dr. CT Vivian. I wish I should have brought some of this stuff so you could see it, but I got a hat that Congressman John Lewis gave me and signed. And that when he got his, Rochelle O'Neal took care of me when he got the fleet of ships named after him. And so he did a dedication to my last book, 25 Years in Counting. Dr. C.T. Vivian's family gave me one of his ties, and I keep that tie. And, you know, Dr. Laureate and all these, you know, I don't want them to feel like they invested in the wrong person. Rita Samuels, one reason why I'm so sensitive about including making sure that women not only have a seat at the table, but at the front of the table and make the decisions, because women, particularly Black women, didn't get that opportunity. And Rita Samuels, she trained me. She drilled in me. You got to have sisters at this table. And so so I'm looking at programs, and I see it. I'm like, man, this thing, y'all need some sisters on this program. You need some sisters on this program.
Right.
You need some sisters on this program. You know what I mean? You need that balance, you know, and they ain't gonna take away from the program. They're gonna add to it. It's gonna be better. It's gonna be gooder, as the old folks say, if you get them on this program. It's gonna be a gooder program. You know, so you know, I mean, that's true. But the other thing, and I'll say this to you too, the other thing that's real important for me is I work out every single day, Wardell. I have worked out every single day since December the 16th, December the 30th, 2016. Today is day 2,226 straight workout days. I have not missed a day in 6 years. So I feel good, haven't had COVID. I get on my treadmill, my elliptical, my full body workout. I got a sauna downstairs. I go and sit in the sauna, I sweat, and I'm meditating, and I'm trying to take care of me the best way I know how to. And and the best way to do that is to drink the water, you know, drink as much water, try to eat as healthy as you can. I fall to the little Debbie snack cakes every now and then, but for the most part, you know, well, I'm salads and I'm healthy, you know. So it's just trying to be my best me. I ain't competing against nobody. I'm just trying to be my best me, bro. I'm trying to get in.
You are motivation for me right now, because that's what I just thought. I gotta stay on my health fit. I gotta keep it going, especially for what I'm in film. I have to stay fit. Plus, I have little kids. I have a daughter and a son. They're both small, and I want to live long, you know, to see them prosper, to see them grow and get married and stuff like that. So I think it's very important to stay in shape and fit. So you definitely motivation for me right now. Just saying that. I love it. I gotta get it.
I love challenging our young men in the foundation, man. We go and do something like we did G. Garvin and our very good friends, and we did a culinary boot camp over the summer. So we had some young men and I said, okay, now I worked out every single day before I got, every morning I get up and I work out 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm up, I'm working, because I don't have to go anywhere. That's the beauty of having everything at the house. I have everything in my house. And so we were at the things. I got up and I worked. I had things like, I think I had at that time, that day, I had 25,000 steps, right, already. The evening, so we were with this young man. I say, any of y'all can beat me and can burn the most calories in 30 minutes, I'm gonna give you $50. So this one young man, he was 17 years old, played football. He challenged me. He beat me by 30 calories. But when he got, but hold up. But when he got off, what he didn't know, and I showed him, I said, bro, let me just show you that I already had 15. I already got about 12 miles already that I've already walked and done it. And when he got off, his legs was just trembling. I was nervous. I thought he was going, and he was an athlete. His legs were trembling. I was like, man, don't, but it was funny, but I feel good. I check my blood pressure. My blood pressure is usually, it hovers around the 112, 116 over like 60, 65, so I get up and I do my blood pressure. Just trying to be, because you can't be a great leader if you're not healthy.
That's true.
You can't.
That's true. Listen, man, you've been great. The show is almost over, but you have to do one more. You done did some poems already, at least 2 already on the show. So if you don't mind doing one last poem before we get off, and then I have you give out your information, how to contact you.
Well, also this, and I'll do one more, but also this Saturday, I'm releasing a book. Hopefully you all will come. It's at the, if you're in town, and it's gonna be streamed as well too. We got about 300 people already, and it's called a poetic journey. It's an African-American history piece, a poetic journey, and it's at the Central Library downtown, right off of Peachtree. So it's at 1 o'clock. Central Library, and it's 1 o'clock. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. So please, and I'm releasing that book. They don't know it, but they're gonna have it's a book signing that day. So it's I'm bringing a new book out. So I'm really excited. It's called 30 Years of Chocolate. 30 Years of Chocolate. I have this piece that's called Chocolate. So it's 30 years of chocolate.
I can relate to that one.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit of chocolate since we got some sisters looking at it. And this is the piece that Will Downing called me and asked me. He did a great job in this on his CD, but I'm gonna do it. This is my piece. I own it. And that's it. I know why you don't feel good, sweetheart. It's because you need a little bit of chocolate. Chocolate can improve your circulation. It can feed that craving, that temptation, girl, with you. What you really need is a little bit of chocolate. It can lower your blood pressure. Or it might take it off the chart. It can soothe you on a night that's hot, the girl with you. What you really need is a little bit of chocolate. Now, study shows chocolate has other health benefits. I can't prove it, but I'm sure it's that chocolate that gives you a burst of energy in the middle of the night that just won't allow you to quit, girl, with you. What you really need is a little bit of chocolate. Now, the doctor says chocolate is good for your heart. That white chocolate is okay, but for maximum strength, you better find you some chocolate that's dark. That's just a little bit of that. That's just a little bit of that one. And so on Valentine's night in Birmingham, on Valentine's night, I'm opening up for Will Down and Mesa and Jonathan Butler. So I'm excited about that. So that's gonna be I'm gonna warm the stage up for them.
Oh man, now let everybody know how they can reach you, how they can order your book, where to go to, your tapes, your DVDs, whatever you got. How can they get in touch with you?
My IT guy was genius, when I first started doing this, and he was so much of a genius that he simplified everything. All you have to do is say HankStewart.net. You can send it to my website. My email is HankStewart@HankStewart.net. Poet, if you go to Instagram or Facebook, it's Hank Stewart Poet. Everything. If you just Google my name, ain't nothing crazy about the spelling. It's just HankStewart. And if you put it in the Google search, you'll see all the stuff that come up. You put it in YouTube search. It ain't no fun, fancy way. It's Hank Stewart. So you can find me that way. You can send me an email. I ain't hiding from nobody. I don't owe nobody. You know what I mean? I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying life.
Now you also mentioned some events coming up. Can you talk about those? So
real quick, I got on Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Central Library, doing a Black History program, Poetic Journey. On 14th, I'm in Birmingham. I'm opening for Will, Mesa, and Jonathan, but I'm in Philadelphia that Saturday. I don't have the information on that one. Miss Clayton, the unveiling of her statue is the 8th of March at 10 a.m. downtown off of Peachtree, the Hyatt off of Peachtree. I turned 60 this year, so in the fall, my birthday is actually on Labor Day. As fate would have it, it falls on Labor Day, so I'll turn 60 years. So I got a big 60th birthday party that we're putting together right now. It's my annual white linen party that we normally have about 1,200 to 1,500 people that show up for that. So those.
I would love to come support at that myself.
Please do.
And I definitely want to come and support you on March 8th and this Saturday.
Please do.
I think I'll be able to make it.
Please do. Please do. Thank you. I enjoyed it, Wardell. Great seeing you again and again. Continued success, man. Praying that that you don't hit any. Let me tell you something. My mantra is, it's my time, it's my turn. If I don't do my part, it's my fault. That's where I'm. It's my time, it's my turn. I don't do my part, it's my fault. But I also say I'm catching all the lights. So, bro, I hope you catch all the lights, man. Catch all the lights.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Hank Stewart. Man, I truly appreciate you for coming in, man, taking time out for us. You're so busy. You got a lot going on. I'm very excited for you. It's good to see powerful Black men, Black women. I love to see us thriving and doing well. So many times they just, you see the opposite, and you rarely see people who are really working and making things.
But that's
happen.
strategic now. That's strategic,
right?
Because they want you to rarely see it. I got more people around me who succeeding than failing. So so we just need to change the narrative. Like you.
That's it.
I mean, we got to change the narrative. We got to say we're not going to allow you to just give us that story, because there's 100 more positive stories on this negative.
Yes, it is. Right.
All right, bro.
On that note, we are turning over the show. We're ending tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hank Stewart, I'm very honored to have you here. I had to say that again. I can't wait to go and buy your book. I will be getting that new book you got coming out.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. Tune in a couple of weeks for my next guest. This is Wardell Richardson of WCEG Wood, Hollywood of the South. We are signing out. Peace.